Hello and welcome to the COJMC Crash Course, where me and two guests talk about what you can expect to get out of each major here in the College of Journalism and Mass Communications at UNL. I'm your host, Henry Goodwin, and today we're talking about sports media and communication. I'm here with Associate Professor John Shrader. John, how are you?
I am very well, thank you.
Good. And I am also glad to be joined by sports media and communication and broadcasting double major, Camden Cohn. Camden, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. John, can you just tell me a little bit about the major as a whole?
Well, they created this major back in 2016, 2017, and really wanted it not to be a journalism major or a broadcast major. They wanted it to be a sports media and communication major. And that's why you have to do data viz. That's why you have to do promotion. That's why you write. That's why you do all of these things. Because we felt like, and I was hired when it went online in 2017, but the creators of this program wanted this to be a holistic sports media experience because, as you guys know, probably before you got here, and certainly now as you're getting ready to graduate, that there are so many different jobs, and what you came in here as a freshman intending to do may not be exactly what you thought you would do as you're leaving as a senior. So the important thing for those of us who run this program, or manage it at least, is that the students get as much experience over the breadth and depth of sports media as we can give them in 4 years.
So what does that look like? So I know, Camden, you've done some play-by-play. And a lot of people think that initially when you hear sports media, they kind of think of play-by-play, and obviously there are opportunities for that, but what kind of other things can you kind of get into?
Well, you can be a graphic designer, you can be a social media strategist and reporter and writer. You can go into advertising and PR. You can be a promotion manager. You can be a broadcaster. You can do television, radio, podcast. You can be a writer. In fact, we ask everybody to be a writer in this college, as you guys know. And so the jobs that people are getting now are often graphic design, visual presentation. We do have a number of people getting broadcast jobs, play-by-play jobs, as well as jobs at places like ESPN and others. So it runs the gamut, but I would say the jobs now are tending more toward working for clubs, working for conferences, working for universities and colleges, working for people who are producing media for their particular entity.
So, Camden, what kind of experience have you gotten out of sports media and communication?
Yeah, I've gotten a ton of experience, obviously, in my 4 years here. It starts with KRNU, so the student radio station, early on your first couple of years in the college. They get involved right away. You get to call baseball and basketball and volleyball, which, of course, is a big deal. So KRNU is kind of where you start, and that was obviously excellent experience for me just to kind of get used to what preparing for a broadcast was like and what all you have to prepare to do, and then obviously carried it out on the air. But then as you get older and more progressive in the college, then you get more Big Ten Plus opportunities. So I've done Big Ten Plus, which is the streaming platform for the Big Ten. So you get baseball games, some women's basketball games, softball, and so that's on the TV side. So you get both the radio and TV experience with the play-by-play there. So that's a pretty good gig. I've also gotten internships through the college. So I have an internship with the Nebraska City radio station. So I do some high school kind of freelance play-by-play for them, and then an internship with the Huskers radio network as well. So plenty of opportunities to get involved.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about what you do with the Huskers radio network.
Yeah, so with the Huskers radio network, that isn't so much broadcasting as it is more producing. I produce a lot of like the baseball games and some of the basketball and volleyball games. So that's just taking people on and off the air, logging the live reads, really progressing the commercials in the live spots that they do. But then there's also some production elements to it that I voice. Like there's a segment during the men's basketball games that's an opposition preview. So that's like a minute or two where I'm just previewing the opponent, and that plays during the broadcast. There's also, I've done 30-second ad spots for clients as well, just so that I get more on-air experience, but more well-rounded as well with, hey, I can produce a broadcast if I need to, but I can also do play-by-play as well.
And I also understand that there are a lot of award opportunities. Both of you guys were just up in Minnesota for, was it the MPJ awards?
The Midwest Broadcast Journalists Association, yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. What did you guys win?
Well, first of all, I will say that awards go to people who are rewarded for doing good work. Awards aren't something you should be striving for. Awards are an attaboy or an attagirl pat on the back for doing really good work. So I want to make sure that we all understand that. I've believed that since I was your age, and I still believe that, and I'm a tad bit older than you guys are. Well, I mean, it's a really nice way for our college to show the regional broadcasters the kind of work we're doing. And it was across podcasting and television and storytelling and just everything we do that's any kind of broadcast flavor to it. We won awards, either a certificate or a first place. So, and it was a really good experience, I think, for the students. I'll let Camden talk to that. But it's really nice for our students to see what quality work is, and hopefully they have an opportunity to see some of the work that other people have done. And it's just a nice way to say, good job, way to go. You put in a lot of hard work here, and some folks said, that was nice, that was good, way to go.
Yeah, that was my first conference that I'd attended, and it was really cool. There had a lot of different breakout sessions, so you could learn from some of the other more experienced journalists and professors from the other schools. So that was cool to see how different schools run their programs, like how the newspapers are different at each and every school, and the different opportunities that each school has was really cool to see. But then, yeah, just connecting with a lot of the other students and really realizing that the work that we produce here at UNL in the college is really high quality work. I mean, we had the most first place awards out of all the schools that were there, and I think it was, South Dakota State, UNO, Minnesota, a couple of other Minnesota schools. So, I mean, in the whole Midwest area, we had the most awards, which, again, don't do it for the awards, but we appreciate the recognition, and it really shows that we have high quality work here and that we're doing something good.
So as for classwork, what kind of classes are you teaching right now?
Generally, I teach the Introduction to Sports Media class. I teach sports broadcasting class. I teach a couple of classes. I've taught writing classes. I don't know if Camden was in my writing class years ago. I don't think so. But and I teach a couple of classes in the Honors College. I rotate every semester between the freshman newbies in a class called Issues and Ethics in Sports, and then a 300 level juniors and seniors course in what we used to call race and culture in sport. I'm not sure they'll let us call that any longer, but that's what it's about: race, identity, culture, and sport. Kind of a longer view of what we learn in the Introduction to Sports Media course, but it's for honors students, and hardly ever, I mean, rarely do we have a COJMC student in those classes, which is nice.
Camden, what has been your favorite sports media class that you've taken?
Well, I think obviously the sports broadcasting class with Professor John Shrader here, where you got to call the Nebraska football games. That's the only way you could call Nebraska football on KRNU was by taking that class. And so I actually I think I called 3 or 4 of the home games that year, which was awesome because I got more experience that way. But then also experience like spotting some of the other aspects of the broadcast that you don't really think about. But obviously you need a spotter when you're that high and there's so many players on the field. So that was one. And then I think the sports data visualization class with Professor Matt Waite, I think that was a really interesting class because you learned how to code with RStudio, which can obviously take you all over the place with data and whatnot. And so I think that was really cool to kind of see how I can make graphs using the data that we already have, which there's plenty of data in sports, obviously, with all the different statistics. So I think that was a really interesting class for me as well.
And I will say coding sounds kind of intimidating. Professor Matt Waite does a really good job at making it intuitive and easy to follow.
Yes, he walks you through it step by step. He's really good at what he does. He's at the front edge of basically everything technology. Like I know he's doing a ton with AI right now and all the different things with that. So he's very good. We're very lucky to have him.
I guarantee you that while it's not my area of expertise, that it is information, it is knowledge that you will need in every single job that you walk out of here. you'll need that kind of knowledge. So soak it in. I think, what do you guys call that? The most fun class you hated or something? I really don't know. Most people go into that class thinking, and they come out of it in the end thankful they got out of it. But also, there's just so much that is so valuable to your future.
Yeah, it seems super intimidating, like Henry said at first, but once you start walking through each module, it just builds off of each other, and from the very end, with your final project, you have 4 charts that you created that you would not have been able to do in week 1 of the semester. So,
yeah, and then I will say I didn't think I would like the class going into it, but I ended up liking it so much that I took the advanced version where we got to make models to predict a March Madness bracket, and then we got to do a little sports betting thing with our predictive models.
So now you're ready to work at FanDuel or DraftKings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's your next step. There you go.
Yeah. What kind of qualities do you think makes a good sports media and communication student?
I think the qualities that make a good student are the qualities that make a good employee, that make a good person. Somebody who's bright and engaging, who works hard, who is adaptable, who can read the room, who is willing to grasp information and can grasp it and interpret it quickly. And so I think those are all things that make a good person, a good employee, and those are the kinds of things we hope people are leaving with, at least a few of those, and they can kind of get better at some of the other things. But if you're smart and you work hard and you're adaptable and you're ambitious, then you'll do pretty well in life, whatever you decide to do.
With sports media being a relatively new major, are there any plans to kind of expand it and add new classes or any new programs, stuff like that?
We won't change the core part of it, but we're working very hard to add courses that students would be interested in, right? The second level of data viz, as an example, is we thought the demand was there, and it was. Sports gambling we've added, and we're working on, and it takes a while. You know how fast molasses moves. That's about how fast curriculum decisions move in a university. So we're working hard on adding courses that not only in those sort of skill level courses, but also other courses. I have one that's going online soon that's called Sport and American Culture. And it literally is like introduction to sports media on steroids. It is like we're into every deep dive of things that we think you should know about if you're going to work in the sports business, right? So those are the kinds of things we're working on. We have some other esports, and so we're trying to add to the curriculum all the time, not just because we're new, but we have 400 students, and we have 400 students who have disparate interests. And so we need to service those interests and help them learn more about the kinds of things they're interested in. So you'll see more stuff popping up. We're working at it. We're working hard at it. And while you guys are graduate, you'll probably look at that and say, wow, I would have liked to have taken that class, but it's a work in progress.
Could you touch a little more on esports? I know that's kind of not initially what people think about when they imagine sports media and communication, but a lot of people are interested in that. What kind of stuff do you guys do with esports?
I don't do an awful lot with it. Dr. Tan works with the esports group, and he's got an interesting background. I don't know if either one of you know him, but he actually was a computer programmer. He actually put together whole programs of computer activity and esports and other things. So you can broadcast it. You can learn how to manage it. You can learn how to put like esports competitions together. So anything that you think is esports, from the broadcasting standpoint, it's like calling a game. It's like being prepared to call a game and understanding what the style is that's necessary for that. But I would like to tell you I know that I'm an expert on that, but I wouldn't be truthful if I said that. So,
are there any kind of clubs people can get involved in to get experience early?
The interesting thing about sports media is, and I think it's probably the same in all of our majors, is that some broadcasters are interested in sports media, so they major in both. We have a lot of people who are interested in ad PR or promotion, and they're also sports media majors. And broadcasters who are ad PR majors, if you can believe that. I mean, when I was in college, the ad PR people and the journalism people and the broadcasting people were three different arms of the family that never got together on Thanksgiving, if you know what I mean, right? But now we're just all here and all together. So I think if you're interested in sports promotion, you should get involved with the ad PR folks. If you're interested in broadcasting, get involved with NBS.
I do want to talk a little bit more about double majors, because Camden, both you and I are double majors in sports media and broadcasting. A lot of people imagine two majors, that makes the coursework a lot harder and a lot more, time consuming, but it's really not. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so a lot of the classes I feel like that you have to take give you credit for the other major as well. So it's like some of them overlap. So it's like, well, if I get the credit for this sports media class, well, that can count as an elective for my broadcasting class. So then I'm checking two boxes with one since they're in the same college. I mean, obviously, if you take one outside of the college, then it'd be a lot more work to be a double major. But since they're in the same college, a lot of overlapping can occur. But then it still kind of gives you experience more on the broadcasting side as well. So that's why I wanted to do that is, hey, let's get good at video. Let's get good at audio so that I can be a more prepared broadcaster on the sports media side, where I'm learning about all the different sports and the techniques and the different play-by-play and how to write properly. That's kind of more on my sports media side. But then broadcasting, there's writing for broadcasting and scripting out how you want to script it for a newscast. That's completely different than obviously writing a print story that's a press release. So it's just all those little different things that I think you're just more balanced if you're a double major than if you just do one or the other.
I'll leave both of you guys with one final question, but with both of you being broadcasters, play-by-play guys, what has been the moment of your guys' career, like your favorite moment you guys have called? And John, I'll let you start, or Camden, I'll let you start.
I can go first. Well, he's got a long career. He's probably got a lot to think about. Mine's obviously a little bit shorter, but I had the opportunity to broadcast the Nebraska basketball game against number 1 Purdue. This was last year during the winter. I think it was over winter break. I kind of got thrown into play-by-play because I was supposed to do color, and the guy that was going to do play-by-play had something come up, so I got moved up to play-by-play for it, which I was prepared, obviously. But Zach Edey was on Purdue, National Player of the Year, 2-time National Player of the Year, and Purdue was number 1 in the country. So obviously Nebraska probably isn't supposed to beat him. Well, Nebraska goes out there and beats them by, I think it was like 15, and it was the first time we beat number 1 team in I think 40-something years. And so just the environment for that was really cool because students weren't there, and so everyone was kind of like, oh, how's the crowd going to be? Well, it was kind of cool because there was a mix of some students that were there, but then it was a lot of people that were from Nebraska, and I know it was storming. I think it was snowing, and so people were worried about the crowd, but it was a really good crowd. They stormed the court, and it's just a really good game and really cool moment to broadcast early on.
I will say that the 35 or more years I spent in broadcasting, the greatest memories of that are probably, and it sounds sort of like the pat answer, but it's the relationships. It's the interesting people you meet. It's, for me, like Dusty Baker and Steve Young, and I didn't like Barry Bonds. Hardly anybody did, but he was a very interesting fellow. And so those are the kinds of things I remember most. I covered the 49ers as a reporter, not as a play-by-play guy, for many years. And I'll never forget when Steve Young finally won the Super Bowl. He's in the locker room, and he's weeping with joy and relief that he finally won a championship because the 49ers had won 4 of them with Joe Montana, and that was his first. Right? And only, as it turns out, they haven't won one since. They've lost twice to the Chiefs in the last few years. So those are things I remember most. I was lucky enough. I called a college football game in Wyoming once that was won on a 60-yard field goal, back when people didn't kick 60-yard field goals regularly like they do now. And I broadcast 2 championship teams with the San Jose Earthquakes in Major League Soccer more than 20 years ago now, but those are certainly things that I remember very well. Covered the Golden State Warriors. I mean, I honestly, again, I don't want this to sound wrong, but I grew up in a small town in Nebraska and then got to spend a lot of years seeing sporting events that I only watched on television and I never got close to until I moved to California, and then got to do so many awesome things. I broadcast Major League Baseball and NBA. I was like, I'm very, very thankful and very, very grateful that I had a chance to do those things. I really am.
Nice. Well, I think that is all the time we have today. So thank you to John and Camden for joining me. Next time, we're going to be talking about broadcasting. But until then, thank you for tuning in to the COJMC Crash Course.